Now, I've just been informed by town attorney that the court has allowed their restraining order to prohibit the enforcement of the cease and desist order. That the reason why they went ahead today in court before this hearing, which is what I thought we had agreed upon, was to come to this hearing for some kind of reasonable conclusion of this, that they informed town attorney yesterday they felt they were too far apart on important issues. The additional findings were that there were public health risks, both to the population served by the AIDS Action Committee, but also to the general population. The cease and desist order goes back into play as of our vote today when we get around to that. We will not be able to enforce that based on the court restraining order pending hearing. I believe it is a week from Friday. I know that many of you came out both in support and in opposition to the cease and desist order. I appreciate this is one of the best turnouts we've had for a Board of Health meeting. I appreciate everybody's interest. I am very upset and very sorry that we could not come to some kind of mutual go-forward position. Again, I would like to go personally on the record that I felt the board was very clear that we did not expect to have a finalized agreement as of today, but we were hoping to be working towards some type of finalized agreement. The fact that they chose not to continue in this regards, and I will say that I think there was some great progress made. There was some great progress made, but they chose not to continue to go forward. So, again, I think just based on the vote that was taken last week, there's not much more that we can do because it was a 1-week suspension of the enforcement. So I think all we need to do is affirm the imposition of the cease and desist order, recognizing that there can't be any enforcement until further court hearings. I would also like us to go on the record that we recognize serious public health issues from this program, both positive in terms of protection of people who are IV drug users, but also negative in terms of the public health.
Actually, I was hoping that the court would not rescind our movement, and that I don't think it's the right location. I think it's a terrible location. It's a small place for many reasons. And so I was hoping that I don't know if you call it we would win, but that it would be a different verdict. There'd be a different verdict. I can't, you read in the paper all these decisions made in court, and you're better than half of them, you wonder what's going on. So this is just another one. At least that's my opinion.
Now today, what happened today? They sued the town?
What happened is that they went for a restraint against enforcement of the cease and desist order. They were granted that order of restraint.
So that means we don't have any more power to say you cannot give away needle and syringe. Okay, so that they are continuously giving away to the public.
Correct.
Syringes, needles.
Correct. Under court approval.
How can we stop that? Can we or no?
Well, we've got a full hearing a week from Friday. Hopefully we'll be able to present sufficient evidence to change the court's mind at that point in time.
Who is courts? I want to know. Who are they?
Which, Charlie, I have no idea who. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. I let the lawyers do this.
The matter was heard today by a Superior Court judge, and the order for a temporary restraining order did issue, and we had a fairly lengthy hearing. Both sides spent quite a bit of time with the judge.
What we should do to win in this step, next step?
We'll be preparing a thorough evidentiary presentation and exploring the evidence that was before you and exploring your reasonings and concerns about the risk to public health. There'll be conditions attached to it, and we intend to offer evidence as to what the judge might want to consider in the way of evidence on that score that would support perhaps conditions if he is inclined to impose those. So it's a productive but time-consuming process. I don't know how much time we'll actually have over there. I assume it's going to be the best part of a full day over there.
So in 1 week we have a hearing. Who's gonna prepare for that hearing for our town?
Our office will be working with witnesses.
So you are the one leading us to the hearing.
That is correct.
So not much we can do.
Not at this point, no. I mean, the court's order is clear, and I think your procedural setting for this is clear, and we will proceed from here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will be very brief, but I do just want to say that this was a step today that we had hoped to avoid. We did send a demand letter to the town setting forth our position before last week's meeting. We, of our own initiative, contacted counsel to see if there was a way to resolve this. I understand we're now in a lawsuit, and I know that that is not something that's generally appreciated. I get that. But we continue to be willing to work with the town to make sure that concerns can be met if that is something that the town so desires. Thank you.
I feel the need to respond to your statement, however. This board, I don't think, ever denied that a needle program is protective of the health of your population. What this board is concerned about, as I stated last week, and remains very seriously concerned about, and has become even more concerned with the information that you presented to us, is the protection of the public health in your non-population, the rest of the residents of Barnstable. And to just go on record, I'm using your numbers both from your organization and from the Mass Department of Public Health. You distribute 112,000 needles, 112,000 needles plus or minus on a yearly basis. 70% of your clients are Hep C positive. Calculations, and I use a calculator for this one, tells me that 78,000 needles go to people that are already Hep C positive. According to you people and to the Mass Department of Public Health, each of those needles is reused 4 times or more, even with your distribution program. I get that from the thing that you sent out saying that it would be a 5-fold increase if we use non-reusable needles. That makes for 313,000 plus infected reuses of needles in the time of the year. If only 1% of those are used by one of your 30% that are not affected with Hep C, that would make 3,000 plus infected needle uses by unaffected people from the needles you're distributing. If it's only 1 in 1,000 reuses of needles being used by someone who is unaffected from somebody who was affected, it would still be 300 plus reuses of infected needles by uninfected people. Now you tell me you have 200 clients, 30% of those were unaffected. That means of those 60 unaffected clients, even with a 1 in 1,000 reuse by one of those people, you're talking about 5 infected needle uses by an uninfected person from your program. What are you protecting So I really question your contention that what you did today really protected your population. If you really want, my view, and again, I'm using my bloody pulpit because I have that opportunity right now. We were willing to work with you, but I think the fact that you've taken this stance really brings into question the true motivation here. I think anyone who really wanted to protect this population, the slight increase in cost of retractable needles would be a very small price to pay. So, you know, I'm sorry it took such a long tirade, but I had to respond to your
May I respond briefly? First of all, we were willing, we held off suit at 2 or 3 junctures of this process. And it was really the discussion we had with town council where we felt that the demands being made were simply not reasonable or viable, and that we had no guarantee of what would happen today.
There's really nothing to do other than to say that the order is, the cease and desist order, the 1-week suspension is terminated. And I think we should just have a motion to adjourn at this point.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Do either of you gentlemen have a comment for the people and children surrounding the Hill Exchange in the town of Hyannis?
No comment at this time, thank you.
Excuse me, you said you were one proposal. I live in the area nearby. One proposal that I would have is that is a medical service area. That's how you get it. That you move your facility to the other medical service area, which is in Independence Park, near the new marijuana overlay. It's away from neighborhoods. We all live in that neighborhood. It's away from neighborhoods, and that is the proposal that I would suggest. Okay.
Your location is 90% of your problem. It's a terrible location. And I'm a neighbor, have been all my life. It's a terrible location. Within a 3-minute walk to two schools, a high school and a middle school, it's an awful location.
Thank you.
Hi, what's your name, sir?
Charlie McLaughlin, Assistant Town Council in Barnstable.
Could you explain to my viewers a brief synopsis of what happened here today?
Sure. The Superior Court was asked to issue a restraining order preventing our enforcement of the cease and desist order that had been issued by the Board of Health in September. And the court spent about an hour hearing arguments on the matter and decided to issue a restraining order expressing some concern about the statutory scheme that the legislature has left after several changes to the statute. And we're going to go back to court next Friday, a week from this Friday, for a full evidentiary hearing, which is unusual in itself, but for us to present not only arguments on the law, but the factual concerns we have about the risk to public health. And it'll be an efficient way to get in front of the court all the arguments that we are concerned about. And there are a number of options that the court will have at that point, either to continue the order while the case is pending, or perhaps to modify it with some conditions if they are going to be allowed to continue this program pending the outcome of the final case. So that's the way it was left in court today. We then came back to the Board of Health, which had taken a vote on this matter last week, giving us suspending an order that they had issued last week to affirm the cease and desist order, and suspending that order for a week to give council a chance to try and work out a series of understandings that might allow the program, or to allow the cease and desist order to be lifted. So we engaged in that process this week. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. The board had expressed concerns through their agent, and we tried to incorporate those concerns into our discussion, and without any further input to us, the council decided to proceed with litigation without any further notice to us until giving us a courtesy yesterday that they were filing this morning.
I saw some frustration up there on the board, and I don't know if you can speak to that. Did they just essentially go over your head on this?
I think the board expected to have a responsible give and take, given the very, I think, magnanimous position that they took last week to try and encourage further discussion. And I know that the board was very disappointed that that not only didn't happen, but that the opportunity for a productive discussion today to try and fashion a final decision, which ultimately is the board's, not council's, but the board's concern, that they were deprived of that as a result of the restraining order issued today. So the board decided just to reaffirm the order and cease and desist order, and that is suspended by the court action until the court issues another ruling after next week's hearing.
One last question. You saw a lot of people show up here today. There's a lot of interest in this, and there's two sides to this. Some people believe that location's, they obviously believe that location's good for us. A lot of people in that neighborhood and in, Barnstable in general believe it's a danger to the schools and the children that are already there and the families that are already there. What do you see happening here?
I tell you in this case that one of the statutes that's still in the books is these model needle exchange programs that was approved by the legislature in 1993, and we fully expected that there might be a process whereby the Department of Public Health would nominate the Hyannis program, and then it will be brought to our council for a discussion and a vote whether or not to allow the program in town. And I think that is obviously a source of disappointment that that process, at least temporarily, has been avoided. The legislature had a clear process in mind for this type of programming, and I certainly think, as one who believes strongly in local review and options, and that is guaranteed by our state constitution, that this is a process that should continue and have the town weigh in fully on the program generally, and perhaps on the location in particular. That we have an entire medical district down the street that is appropriately zoned for it, and this obviously has the potential for a community impact, and I think the locals, as the legislature intended, ought to have a chance to be heard on it, and we will do our best to ensure that that happens.
One last question. Is it safe to say, though, that they won a victory against having a voice here on the town level?
No, I don't think that's the case. The judge is going to give us a full-blown hearing next week, and I fully expect after he hears all the evidence in the case that we'll have a full chance, which we did. We went over today knowing the case had only been filed yesterday. The court, I think, given the passion and the genuine issues associated with the needle exchange, was concerned that at least temporarily they were going to allow the program to continue, but we're going to get a full day in court next week and no doubt thereafter on the merits.
Thank you for your time, sir.